Good evening to all the members of Rotary Clubs of Madras North, East, Aripuram, West and South. Thank you so much for inviting me here today. And I think Mr. Arya Babu absolutely epitomized my topic for today. The topic says, Women of Chennai, where are they now? Where are they going and what are they coming to? That is a general male reaction. Because everyone wants to know, why are the women not sitting at home? Why are they not cooking? Why they are not looking after the children? Why aren't they looking after us husbands? Why should women go out? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the question that we're going to address today. What has happened between the time when we had women of Madras and all decent women, all decent ladies were at home when the lamps were lit and never went out after dark. When Tidal Park was set up 10, 20 years ago, they had problems getting women to come to work because they worked so late. They sent women home at 7 p.m. Today, electronic cities are sprawled all over Tamil Nadu, and there are women working 24/7, handling with great ease and panache the kind of jobs that are really ruling the IT world across countries and across continents. How has this impacted us? There are so many ways in which women have benefited, and there are so many ways in which they have not. When we talk about the different kinds of women or illustrious women of Madras, the list is basically just too long to cover in such a short time. Starting with the arts and the music, for example, M.S. Subbalakshmi, D.K. Pattamal, so many people over there. In the film industry itself, we've had South Indian film actresses right from the time of Vaijayanti Mala Bali and Sri Devi and all those. Earlier they were imported to the north and now they're being exported between Bollywood and Kollywood. We've had this great exchange of especially heroines. But you find today more and more women, for example, Aishwarya Rajnikant, Dhanush, or Radhika Sarath Kumar, who are taking up direction, who are taking up production, who are doing much more than just being a pretty face in movies. That's one of the changes we're talking about. And what are the other changes we have? And how did these changes come about? When we talk about changes for women, we're also talking about changes that affected India as a whole. The LPG that fueled the Indian economy of the last century. Liberalization, privatization, globalization has affected women in so many ways. It has empowered women because a computer is gender blind. A computer does not care if you're a man, a woman, or a transgender sitting in front of that computer. You can work it and you can be in touch with the rest of the world 24/7. But how has this affected the dynamics of the family? How has it affected the roles of women? Education, universal education, has raised the standards of more and more women professionally entering the ranks of business, industry, commerce, more than just the traditional medicine, engineering, nursing, which were the domains of what women were supposed to be doing. We have so many women in India itself and in Chennai. Lakshmi Menon was the CEO of Hindustan Teleprinters in the 1970s. Reena Ramchandran of ONGC was a role model when I was in college. So we have women who've been there in these industries and have blazed a trail for others. In Chennai itself, one role model that many of us can understand or know about is Indira Nui. To me, Indira Nui epitomizes the Chennai girl born and brought up in Chennai, studied over here, went to IIM, and then from there went to the USA, joined Pepsi, and is today CEO of Pepsi and one of the world's most powerful women. Pure Chennai born and bred. What is interesting is the fact that although she came from a very conservative Tamil Brahmin family, she, as a student in MCC, was also a member of a rock band. And I think that's important because her mother was the one who encouraged her to do that. And it shows a broadness of attitude, a broadness of perspective that says you can be conscious of your roots and you can still go out and meet the world. You don't have to be swept away by the cultures of other countries and the Western world coming in. So there is one attitude over there. Chennai has always been a conservative society, a conservative city as far as the rest of the world is concerned. North Indians are always referring to, the Madrasi and his sambar, idli sambar and his bad Hindi accent. But conservativeness of attire does not necessarily mean conservativeness of attitude. When my daughter was very, very young, 4 or 5 years old, we had gone to our neighbor's house. And she was trying to take books from the library, and the library was part of the puja room. So I said, take off your slippers. And the grandmother, who at that time was about 75, 80, said, no, it doesn't matter. I said, what do you mean? She can't go in with her footwear. She said, no. Actually, footwear, we banned footwear because earlier footwear was made of leather, cow's leather, and all of those things, and therefore we would ban footwear. But if she's wearing plastic or rubber or any of those things, she's not being offensive. I mean, that was a mind-blowing attitude. And I said, that's what we need to encourage, to understand how we need to bring up an attitude of openness rather than worry about what people are wearing. Chennai has been famous for one other thing, and that is single-gender schools, colleges, where absolutely no intermingling of the sexes is allowed. These have consequences far beyond just that immediate conservative attitude. These young men and women, brought up in single-sex schools, sent into a college where you're fined for talking to a boy or a girl, are then sent out into the world, into the big bad world, probably across continents, told to work 24/7 with both men and women, and they're supposed to mingle with everybody else. How will the youngsters not go berserk? They have not learned interpersonal skills. They don't know how to mingle with the opposite sex, so they just don't know how to behave. And these are some of the problems that we have. There was an article about this young girl from Anna University who got a job in Microsoft. Her father is a postmaster in a small village in Tamil Nadu. Now her first month's salary is more than 2 years' salary of her father. Very nice. Wow, my daughter is earning so much. How does that affect the family dynamics? She becomes a status symbol, and at the same time, they don't know how to deal with her. She doesn't know how to talk to her father anymore. What happens to the family and the social dynamics when things like this happen? These are the issues that come up with education, with economic independence, and the fact that today more and more women are going out of the confines of their home, going into the cities and living on their own. There's a huge revolution going on out there, ladies and gentlemen, whether you like it or not. The media is responsible. Films have always been the first scapegoat that we have that teach people about love and romance and all these unnecessary things in this life. And today, every single college student mandatorily talks about his girlfriend or her boyfriend. It's like as soon as you acquire a laptop, you have to have a boyfriend along with it. And neither knows how to deal with the entire issue. Chennai, a city where people sat at home and were not allowed to go out, now has online dating for single women. And I'm shocked at the kind of messages that go around. Recently, when we had the Madras High Court judgment about those who live in sin are now considered married, the most common Facebook message that was going around was, "Dude, now half my friends are married." So, we need to understand the revolution that's going on in terms of social dynamics, in terms of expectations, in terms of aspirations, and we need to understand that our young women of today are facing a crossroads. Do they give in to family demands? Do they give in to professional demands? Or do they decide that they want to do what they want, that Western ideal of follow your passion, follow your individual dream, follow what you want to do, or do you listen to what your parents say? Women are at a crossroads no matter what age they are. We bring up our young women and say, you are capable of getting 100% marks. And every single board exam, every single year, there are at least 3 to 5 girls in the top ranks. Where do all these girls disappear? When you go into an organization, at the lower level, IT for example, there are more than 50% girls. But look at middle management, look at top management. Where have the women gone? Disappeared. Because for too many women, it's a choice between career and motherhood. For far too many women, that is the choice that they have to make. Our joint families have gone. So what happens is, in the metros, the entire burden of running the family falls on the shoulders of this young girl, who is not equipped in any way to deal with it. At work, she's an equal or a boss, running things the way she wants to because of her qualifications. But when she comes back home, she's expected to follow all the family rituals, look after the husband side of the family, and of course, for those women who are here, I always have to remember, the husband is always the first baby of the family. So, keep that in mind. And she has to maintain her professional front also. How does she cope? We have too many crises happening. You know, there's another interesting story about Indira Nui. She had signed this great multi-million-dollar deal, and she came home floating because her company had done that. She was responsible for it. And she comes home and her family is there, and her husband says, "There's no bread in the house or no milk in the house," or something. So she was like, what? And her mother said, "Go and get the milk." So she's like, he's in the house, he's sitting here all day, all he has to do is walk to the supermarket and get it. And her mother said, this is the same mother who made her join this, who let her be this rock band member. She said, "Leave your CEO shoes outside the door when you come into the house." That's the dilemma all women are facing today. Who do we give precedence to? And how do we give precedence to every other aspect of our life? Because we are expected to be super women. We are expected to give equal importance to our families. We're expected to give equal importance to our profession, because we ourselves have worked so hard to reach this level. And we are expected by society to do so many other things. If you look at so many of the successful women we have, you look at the fields of dancing, you've got a Shobana who's on her own, you've got so many women who have either made it on their own, or in many cases made it in spite of their husbands. So you find that unless you have a family that is working together, women in their professional life face so many difficulties. We need to understand how, as a society, can we help women to improve their prospects. In this introduction just now, Mr. Arya said, where are all the women? They're in the pubs and the discos. Now, the question is, what's wrong with that? My question is, today's young girl is a professional who's earned her own money, she's got her own lifestyle. So when you say, oh, she's in the pubs, you're making it sound negative. And the girl is like, why can I not be there? This is a lifestyle that has been brought to us by a consumer society, by the materialistic ways of this world, with every single newspaper. For example, the last 1 month, or this month, RD sales. Nobody needs another sari, nobody needs another TV, nobody needs another fridge. But we are forced into that syndrome of buying more and more, getting more and more things, and trying to be part of the Jews. So we need to understand that if we push our girls into all these things, they will start making their own decisions. And the problem about education is that it inculcates attitude. So when you have a young girl who's educated, who's working on her own in an IT company, for example, running a team that may be cross-cultural, cross-country, and all those things, she's running that very well. So parents are very happy as far as her professional, qualifications are concerned. But when it comes time to get married, she can never make her own decisions. It's the parents who will decide. And why is that? That is the dilemma parents are also facing. How do we choose the right person for our daughter? And women today have become far more choosy than they ever were. So they're getting married much later. Many are making their own decisions. In many IT and other industries, women have made their own decisions. They've had marriages that are cross-cultural, cross-national, across religions, all of those things. In some, they're accepted happily with both sides of the family, coming together, having a great combined Punjabi Kerala wedding or international Indian wedding, all of those things. And yet, we have an Divya and an Ilvarsan. And that has led to riots, that's led to a raising of the ground, simply because families and our society is not prepared to accept that an educated girl can make her own decisions. So where do we start with education? And where can we say, okay, this much education is enough and this much is not enough? Those are the dilemmas that we have to solve for our own selves and for our own families. Because unless we as a society change, we cannot have it both ways. We live today in a global village. We have to ensure that our women are also equipped to deal with the kind of global issues that everyone has. And these are aspirations that all strata of society have. The lady who cooks for me recently took leave because her daughter was getting married. Now my own daughter got married in December, and my maid is showing me her photograph, the album for this thing. Everything is the same. There's a fancy beautician who's come in and done the beautician's work. There's the photographer who's come and done a professional job. There's a reception. There are all these different things. There is no difference in any of the items that I had for my daughter's wedding, and she has for hers. It is only the scale that changes. She is working 3 and 4 jobs a day to ensure that her daughter could have this wedding. And to many of you, another part of that familiar story, her husband is an alcoholic. He doesn't contribute. And this is a story that is happening far too often across our countries. Everywhere we find the easy access to alcohol, the easy access to pornography, and the easy access to consumerism. As a result of which, the rising crime graph against women is horrifying. And unless more and more decent men come forward and help in taking a stand, women will not be safe in Chennai or anywhere else. It doesn't need rallying on the streets. Sometimes it's as simple as seeing a boy harassing a girl and just walking up to that girl and saying, "Do you need any help?" Or making sure that he does not harm her. And all these kind of copycat murders, suicides, attacks, all of these things. We need to have some kind of really strict action. Unless the men of our society do that, women will never be safe. We need to understand what are the driving forces that say that a man and a woman want to get together, they don't want to get together, somewhere he is harassing her, maybe because of the movies, maybe because of his own psychiatric makeup, or whatever it is. How do we protect our girls? And let's start by educating not only the girls. Whenever there is a situation of any kind in Chennai or anywhere else, the first reaction, hostel lights must be, everyone must be inside the house by 6 p.m. The hostel curfew is from this time. You're a girl, don't go out. Why are we not teaching our boys and our men to respect women? And why are we not helping them to protect the women that we do know? Women cannot blossom, women cannot grow unless there is support from society as a whole. Where there is that kind of support, you will find in Chennai or elsewhere women in so many numbers. In Chennai, for example, one of the big advantages that we have are the educational institutions that have been set up that are world class. Stella Maris, Ethiraj College, SIET, Kennedy Miller, MCC, WCC. The number of good colleges is amazing. But we must invest in making sure that our women have safe places and safe avenues to travel around. We need to make sure that there are more avenues for them to shine, whether as an Indira Nui or anybody else. As to the question, where are the women going? Each one of us, exactly like the men in our lives, each one of us will go in whichever direction suits us the best. There is no one path for all men, and there is no one path for all women. We have to make our own paths. We have to find our own destinies. And that is the only direction that women are going. Thank you, ladies.